Hi, my name is Sheila Kane, and I'm about to read a slam poem called A Grandmother's Poem, Palace Coup by Larry Brown. I am too feeble, they say, to manage my own affairs. They speak in my presence as if I were already deaf and could not hear. My oldest daughter takes her hand between mine and explains how my will is unsophisticated and inadequate for these times. Her swarthy boyfriend sits nearby, nodding silently, his folded hands hanging down between his legs. His lawyer will handle the whole affair. Then I can relax and let the family take care of me. Somehow the numbers seem unreal. My finances bore me, have bored me longer than I can remember, though I have always taken care. And I am not feeble. Every transaction, every economy, every acquisition, every small thing I can remember now with specific, perfect clarity. And I will not let them persuade me I am rich. I will not. Everything I had to give, I offered them when they were children. 7 of them I raised through hard times, and they lacked nothing. I have seen their children through the finest schools. Who could have believed I would have to flee from them into the ground to escape their wickedness? I shocked them all this morning, drove my Plymouth down to the station and rode into the heart of the city. They're saying I took too great a risk. I carried no purse to steal, hid the keys under the mat, and just went walking. Even on 42nd Street, I was not shocked, but wondered as a stranger in a foreign land, observing transactions in a foreign currency. So sorry, poor generation that has to try so hard to make anything happen. Somehow, when I was a girl, and goddamn them, I do remember, we did so much less, felt so much more. Maybe that too was a kind of economy. A parade went by there on 42nd Street. I could hear the rolling drums and marching rhythms, and I crowded to the curb to have a look. Stood there on the corner with his strange rubber hostess in the window and waited for the parade. All that noise and only 5 people playing, 2 women with a banner and some slogan I don't remember, some kids on bikes, a tall black man in a blue running suit pumping his legs up and down. That was all. Not much for New York. Lord, when I was a girl, a parade meant something. I could stand and watch it for hours. But that was another time, and patriotism was an altogether stronger force, it seems, than it is today. So there they were at the station with the police they had called, fearing the worst, they said. What could I have been thinking, they asked me. They can keep me under house arrest if they want to, and hire me a nurse out of my own money, but I'll sign no papers and I'll not speak to them anymore. Sorry, all of you, I'm sorry, but I've seen so much, and I'm sorry, but I'm taking my life with me and leaving my death to you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Reed, and I'm going to read The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world, and I am free. Thank you.
Okay, A Village on Cape Cod by Mike Curtis. I invite you to stop by and check out Cotuit. We're a terrific walking village where neighbors greet and property is always well groomed. You can enjoy your time boating or visiting the town dock, as well as the village green. Pets are always welcome, and you can visit the town library or post office with your pet to receive a delicious treat. There is always great conversation, food, and fresh water at the coop, for you and your pet. If you time it correctly, you hear beautiful hymns from the church steeple on the village green. You are blessed to have 4 wonderful beaches, all unique in character, from Ropes to Riles Loop in Oregon. After a sun-filled day at the beach, you can have a great dinner at the Kettle Hole and capture an earth-shattering sunset at the beach or Ropes Field. The next day starts with a fantastic row, perhaps a row at the Katuitt Rowing Club. There was always time at Kings Grant for a tennis match, a pickleball game at Town Dock, or our world-class youth program at the Katuitt Mosquito Yacht Club. Of course, we are Katuitt, one of 7 villages in the town of Barnstable. Please stop by and say hello. Thank you.
I'm Dave Mullen. We'll start with the Shameless Commerce piece. I'm going to read some poems from my sister's book, Winter at a Summer House by Mary Beth Hines. I'll read 4 or 5 poems from this book, and then another one that I came across this morning about the war in the Middle East. Honeymoon. Side by side on a small white towel, we bask in the sun, smeared in coconut oil. I brush her cheek. She throws a smile. Then we go for a swim, take a walk, go shelling. A master collector, her bucket fills with angel wings and glassy moon shells. Back at the towel, she sorts through her catch, picks out the perfect, tosses the rest. Then we lean back, arms around our knees, and watch the sun drop and the gulls circling, and she tastes like salt and smells like limes when she sits close, her head against mine. Sweet Mary Murphy, beaming, bold, she'll never leave me, we'll never go old. These poems are pretty much all about our parents, and Mary Murphy was our mother. Title of this poem is Father. The old man rules his kingdom from a chair. He wields power through a glare. With a tap of the remote always by his side, he commandeers the TV guide. His phone, placed strategically past arm's length, requires him to stretch to build his strength. He fumes when shaky legs give way and vows he'll walk again one day. His doctor claims it's not possible, but he knows he's unstoppable. In firm command of each and every breath, he steels his will to outwit death. Providence. Off nurses' voices, emergency response, then finally his daughters, breathless, rush to his side, and he promises each time to use the chair to call for help. They never knew him as the boy from Waldo Street who climbed 1 foot, 1 hand against a tree, the other against the garage wall, until he reached the V, then leapt to the roof, and from there to Casey's, then Berubis, Leshekbach's, and Conlon's, where the adventure ends with a long jump down. Marconi Beach. Atlantic's blue heaves, white caps, chums, icy foam, spray thrown in the air, cleaves on landing in the swimmer's silver hair, salt drops lit by August sun. Head back, face to the sky, he drifts untethered, winking light in ocean's eye. Beneath him, teal shifts to black. Skates skim sea's bottom, paired fins, shiver, lift. A sleek fish brushes his skin papery, thin as it careens through hush. Weathered memory sparks, thunders through limbs, surges over reverie. The old man turns, gropes through surf, hollowed hands sinking rote remembered strokes, back to the shore where grandchildren crouch, stack smooth stones, building flinty piers, stepping stones through tide, deep moats gashed in sandy land, perfectly designed for waves that fade, flow a sea that calls everything it touches its own. Winter at a summer house. The walls shrink close, the pipes heave a last shudder, and snow seals the hush. Ghosts huddle under blankets, shivering through long nights to the tap, tap, tap of a loose shutter. When a floorboard groans at an unexpected touch of life, they fling off their covers and roam the house, waking up others dozing under eaves, in closets. They slip out to the jetty, where one of them hovers on the point, then dies. And they cheer, their silvery cries soaring as she rises and plummets on the swells of the white winter sea. This last poem is by Amir Peter O'Loughlin, written on October 14th, 2023. What I Do in the War. Because I cannot carry your dead child, I sweep the deck of my friend and fling the dry pine needles to the messenger breeze, and the strike of my broom down the steps to the sea is the shovel for digging the grave, and the bird song is the keening of your family and clinging companions. Instead of joining you to claw the rubble in search of your buried mother, I will bring bread to my neighbor, who will serve it to her children. And I will chant your name in rhythm to the shouts and earth movers, with the warm loaf in my hand and the autumn air gripping my chest. I will serve tea to this welcome company and offer a fragrant, poignant, impotent wish for peace. And I'll salam alaikum with each touch of the cup to silent lips while you grip your phone for news and prepare to sleep on dark roads upon carpets that once had homes. Nothing in me can help you know if your daughter is alive or dead, or which is worse. So I will whisper, shalom, shalom, with each step up this mountain, from where my strength comes and where my cries are left, and where the eagles loft and lift. You cannot bear witness to my sorrow for those I love whom I do not know. So I will ring the Japanese bell in my garden to reach all those unjustly taken away. I will listen to its resounding song, which ears hear for 10 slow breaths, but which trees hear forever. And I pledge to you, to each of you who suffers now, a place in its vibrating power.
Hello, I'm Sue Cameron, and I am speaking on the need for universal health care in our country. Do you know that the United States is the only developed nation in the world that doesn't provide health care to its citizens? The only industrialized developed nation in the world that doesn't guarantee health care to all its residents. We are the wealthiest nation on earth. We have the most diverse economy. We are leaders in democracy, and we can't seem to provide health care for all. France, Germany, Canada, Japan, Australia, Sweden, just to name a few countries that provide health care to all their residents, regardless of ability to pay. But the US hangs on to an employer-based insurance system that was introduced in the 1940s as a means to skirt wage controls during World War II. This system serves the insurance industry, not our citizens. Many leaders have recognized this shortfall for decades. The following presidents have proposed national healthcare systems: Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, Richard Nixon, and Bill Clinton. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. For decades, a comprehensive healthcare system, much like Medicare, has been proposed by leaders and supported by economists because it is the least expensive way to deliver quality care and guarantee access to everyone. So we have the VA health system for those who have served or are serving in our armed forces. We have Medicare for those who've reached their 65th birthday. And we have specialized programs to provide health care to children, disabled persons, and those living in poverty. The rest of you, you are on your own, relying on a variety of insurance-based options, which you pay for, to corporations who then dictate which doctors you can see, what services you can get, and how much you'll pay in deductibles and copays. If you get your insurance through your employer, they tell you how much of the premium they'll deduct from your paycheck every month, and it goes up and up and up. It's maddening. And it discourages doctor visits because if you have a significant copay or deductible, you're going to avoid going to the doctor until your condition worsens. Sometimes that means by the time you go to the doctor, you are going to be having a much more expensive treatment, and you've suffered longer. Another problem with employer-based health insurance is its restrictions for both employer and employee. The small employer is hamstrung in recruiting because they often cannot offer health insurance. This leaves them unable to attract the best talent. For the folks who work for larger companies, they're often tied to that job. They can't leave because they'll lose their insurance. So what's a better way? Well, 13 years ago, President Obama proposed the Affordable Care Act. While it provided some incremental improvement, it has not been the answer. We still have a system mostly tied to your employer, managed by corporate insurance companies whose main goal is profit, not healthcare. What's different under Obamacare is that insurance companies are now subsidized by our government, and that's you, taxpayers. The different way has to be a national healthcare program, much like Medicare, that's often referred to as a single-payer healthcare system. It's called single-payer because taxes are collected, that money goes into a trust fund, and then that trust fund pays medical costs for everyone. That's basically how Medicare works. Do y'all know somebody who's on Medicare? Do they love it? I know I do. Of course, this system involves collecting taxes, and for those of you who hate taxes, think of this. The average insurance premium is $1,500 per month for an individual. That typically comes with a $2,000 annual deductible, and you pay every cent of that $1,500 premium because even if your employer covers part of it, your wage is held down so that the employer can cover your benefits. Okay, so now I'm going to talk some numbers that really are your dollars. So are you ready for this? Let's say you, as the average individual, pays on a monthly basis at least $1,500. Economists suggest that if we implemented a national health plan, a reasonable approach would be to tax your wages at 2.5% after the first $20,000 of income. Under this scenario, if you earn $5,000 per month, for the first 4 months, there's no tax deduction because, $5,000 times 4 is the $20,000, which is not subject to the tax. So no deductions from your paycheck for the first 4 months. Then starting in May, your tax would be $125 per month for the rest of the year. That is a no-brainer. Sound too good to be true? Well, skepticism is healthy. Don't believe everything you hear, right? In fact, international studies comparing the United States with 10 other developed countries who provide healthcare to all their residents show that the US spends the most per person and gets the worst outcomes. The Commonwealth Fund, which is a think tank that studies policy issues, published a study in 2017 that is both fascinating and disturbing. It shows the US at that time was spending 17% of GDP, that's gross domestic product, while all 10 of the other nations spend less with a majority of those countries spending about 11% of GDP. And for you skeptics, you can say, well, you get what you pay for. Not so. That study showed that the United States ranks worse in every category of healthcare metrics and has the highest deaths per 100,000 of population. So we spend the most and we get the lowest return on investment. That bears repeating. We spend the most and get the worst results. Why? Because we use a system that gives 15 cents of every dollar to a corporate administrator who uses that money to do marketing, pay CEOs multi-million-dollar salaries, and then employ people who second guess your doctor about your treatments. And meanwhile, our Medicare system uses 3 cents of each dollar on administrative overhead. Imagine that. Our government is more efficient, is a more efficient administrator than the private sector. When you're talking about a $3 trillion outlay, which is what the US now spends on healthcare, you're talking significant sums that could be used on actual healthcare. We need to fight for Medicare for all. The key word here is all. Remember, we don't have to live with the current system. We can replace it. We should replace it. Let's advocate for Medicare for all. And thank you for listening.
Before you leave the podium, our audience should know that you wrote this.
Yes.
You're not just reading somebody else's work.
No, I wrote it.
It's
Yes.
just you.
Yes.
That's another round of applause.
I spent my retirement becoming an activist, so. Yeah, you are.
My name is Larry Pincus, and I'm going to do a slam poem by Mark Smith entitled My Father's Coat. I'm wearing my father's coat. He has died. I didn't like him, but I wear the coat. I'm wearing the coat of my father who is dead. I didn't like him, but I wear the coat just the same. A younger man stopping me on the street has asked, "Where did you get a coat like that?" I answer that it was my father's, who's now gone, passed away. The younger man shuts up. It's not that I'm trying now to be proud of my father. I didn't like him. He was a narrow man. There was more of everything he should have done, more of what he should have tried to understand. The coat fit him well. It fits me now. I didn't love him, but I wear the coat. Most of us show off to one another fashions of who we are, sometimes buttoned to the neck, sometimes overpriced, sometimes surprising even ourselves in garments we would have never dreamed of wearing. I wear my father's coat, and it seems to me that this is the way that most of us make each other's acquaintance. In coats we have taken to be our own. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lawrence Brown. I'm the coordinator at Academy for Lifelong Learning for an experimental course, which you've been listening to, public speaking. And there's pretty much no end to the stuff we can come up with here. So if you're not involved with the program, please go online, Academy for Lifelong Learning, check out their catalog and see what we got here. We'd love to have you with us. What you've been hearing is a variety of things, and what I'm going to share with you is another slam poem. This is one I wrote 30 years ago in 1993, when what used to be the Yugoslavia fell apart. into a nasty civil war. And I was struck by a photograph that, and I've got no way to show it to you, but it's of a very old woman, wrinkled, narrow face with a black babushka, tied around her neck, and she's clutching a skull to her cheek, which we are told in the paper was the skull of her son, as the United Nations unearthed a mass grave of victims. Often slam poems are what are called dramatic monologues, where you have a character who's speaking, rather like theater, really. And many of them are personal, but not necessarily. And I wrote this for her, for the mother. It's called Bosnian Spring. The snow is melted into the earth and brought up out of the ground, furrowed ground, stinking black earth turned up with a spade, humid earth turned up in long furrows, our sons. It's early this year for flies, but then this year has been upside down, for this is the time for planting, for sowing the seeds in long secret rows under the black furrowed earth, and covering, not uncovering, what has been put into the ground. Who should have a harvest in spring, taking life out of the ground, taking our sons out of the ground? For this was my son, my handsome son, dropped like fruit, lifted like grain from the harvest of my youth in the planting of my life. This was my son, whom I fed from the fountain of my body in the springtime of my life, and rocked in my arms and sang and crooned and promised love and protection, that I would lay down my body, lay down my life before him, if death as so much noticed him or heard his name. Now look at him. Look what they've done to him. This was my son, the fruit of my love, the hope of my future. I can't speak to you, can't speak. Tell the man with the cameras to go away. Tell him to go to hell. Where were you when my son had life? Where were you when he was helpless and afraid? Where were you when he was murdered? You want my face, you son of a bitch. Where are the faces of the men who killed my son? You only witness what you want. But I'm a witness to everything. And I tell you, he was a beautiful man. Who will bury me now that he is gone? Who will be left to mourn? Why has God given us so much life if we were not supposed to live it? The life I have left, I do not want. Who should have a harvest in spring, taking life out of the ground when there is only dust in the eyes of my son? That was May 20th, 1993. Thank you.